Ever get that feeling, like when you look up at the night sky and you just feel completely, like, totally insignificant? Just a tiny, tiny speck in this massive cosmic ocean. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I get it. It's like a universal human experience, right?
Yeah.
When you really confront just how vast the cosmos is, it's awe-inspiring, but also a little terrifying at the same time.
It's humbling, that's for sure. And yeah, a little scary. Which is why I'm so into this deep dive. You sent over those excerpts from the Urantia book, specifically paper 43, the one about constellations. And I gotta say, it's really shifting my perspective on where we fit into all of this.
It's a fascinating text. The Urantia book, it lays out this incredibly detailed roadmap of the cosmos. And it doesn't just tell us what's out there, but how it's all organized, how each piece fits into the next from our little planet all the way up. Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Now, just a quick refresher for anyone tuning in. The Urantia book, it places Earth, or Urantia as they call it, within a local system called Satania. And Satania is just one small part of a much bigger picture, right?
Exactly. Think of it like this. Sakania, that's our hometown, our little corner of the universe. But that town is part of a much bigger country, and that country is our constellation, Norlatiadek.
Okay, I like that. So if Satania is our hometown and Norlashidek is our country, what does that make Adentia, the bustling capital city?
You got it. Edentia is like the headquarters of Norlatiadek. It's the central hub for the entire constellation.
And get this, the text, it actually describes Adentia as this amazingly beautiful place with highlands and lakes. They even mention a sea of glass. A sea of glass? Is that like a real thing?
According to the Urantia book, it is. Try to imagine this. A vast expanse of shimmering crystal, reflecting the light of distant suns. And that's just one of the wonders waiting for us on Edentia. And remember, this is just one constellation out of 100, each with its own Edentia.
Okay, whoa. My mind just did a flip. So we're not just talking about some cosmic office building here. Edentia is this incredible, bustling metropolis with beings from all over the constellation, right?
Exactly. And it's not just a social hub. It's also a place of incredible spiritual significance. Think about it. We're always trying to better ourselves here on Earth, to grow and evolve. Edentia is like a world dedicated to that process. It's a training ground for what they call ascending mortals, souls who are on this amazing journey towards spiritual perfection.
So Adentia is where we go to level up, spiritually speaking. I like the sound of that. But it does make you wonder about all the other beings we might encounter there, right?
Now, that's where things get really interesting, and we will definitely dive into the inhabitants of Edentia a little later. But first, to really understand what they're all about, we need to understand how this whole cosmic neighborhood is run.
Right, okay. So tell me, what's the government like in a constellation? Are we talking like cosmic presidents and intergalactic Senate hearings? Because honestly, even thinking about earthly bureaucracy makes my head spin. I can't even imagine.
Well, you're in luck. Because the Urantia book, it actually goes into quite a bit of detail about how Norlashidek is governed. And it's surprisingly relatable in a way. It describes a system with 3 branches: legislative bodies, courts, and something called local system administrations, all working together hopefully like a well-oiled machine.
3 branches. Checks and balances. Sounds kind of familiar. So no cosmic emperors or anything like that. Although it does mention something about these most highs who've been in charge since this Lucifer rebellion. Okay, that does sound a little ominous.
It's definitely detail that makes you wonder. It suggests that there was this major upheaval, a rebellion, that disrupted the normal order in Norlashidek. And these most highs, these 3 Verandadek sons, they've been at the helm ever since. Almost like a cosmic state of emergency, you could say.
Wow. Okay, so maybe not as different from earthly politics as we thought. But you know what I find really interesting? This whole idea of the 770 spheres that make up Adentia and the surrounding constellation. 7 on intensity. Earlier, we were talking about the 100 systems within Norlashidek. So am I missing something?
It's easy to get a little lost in the numbers, for sure, but it's all about understanding the different levels of organization within a constellation. Think of it this way. The 100 systems, those are like the countries within this cosmic realm. While those 770 spheres, those are more like the individual cities or regions within those countries, each with its own unique character and function.
Okay, so I'm starting to picture it now, like a cosmic map with all these layers and levels to it.
You're getting it. And each of those 770 spheres plays a specific role in the grand scheme of Norlashidek.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got our country, Norlashidek. Within that, we have these 100 local systems, like our own Satania. And then within those systems, you have 770 individual spheres, all of them orbiting around the capital city, Edentia. But who are the citizens of Adentia? What are these beings like? Are we talking aliens, intergalactic diplomats? Tell me about our cosmic neighbors.
You want to know about our cosmic neighbors? Well, get ready for this. The Urantia book tells us about these beings called Urantia. They're the permanent residents of Adentia.
Urantia. Okay, I'm going to need a minute to learn how to pronounce that one, but hold on. They're the permanent residents, so they're not just passing through like us.
Nope, they're Adentia natives. And get this, they exist between the material and spiritual realms.
Wait a second, back up. Between the material and spiritual, are you saying they're like interdimensional beings?
That's one way to put it. They're not quite material, not quite spiritual, something in between.
That's wild. Okay, so we've got these interdimensional beings just hanging out in Adentia. What do they do all day?
They've got a pretty important job, actually. They oversee those 770 spheres within the constellation.
770, wow, that's a lot of responsibility. So like cosmic administrators.
You could say that. They make sure everything runs smoothly.
Okay, this is blowing my mind. So we've got interdimensional administrators keeping the universe in order. What are they like, though? I mean, what do they look like? Do they look like anything we can even imagine?
This is where it gets really interesting. The Urantia book, it's a little vague on the details, but it hints that their appearance, it changes as souls progress through the Adentia spheres.
Seriously, their appearance changes. That's wild. So they evolve.
That's the idea. As they grow spiritually, their physical forms evolve along with them. Imagine that.
It's like leveling up in a video game, but for real. And your appearance changes as you go. Man, this is some next level stuff. Okay, what else does it say about these Urantia?
Well, remember that sea of glass we were talking about? It's not just for looks. Apparently, the Urantia use it as a giant reflecting pool for, get this, artistic performances.
Hold on, wait. They put on shows on a sea of glass. Who are these guys?
They call them celestial artisans.
Celestial artisans. It sounds so elegant. So they're not just administrators, they're artists too.
Man, that's incredible. It's like Adentia is this hub of both, like cosmic administration and creativity.
Exactly. It's a place of incredible beauty and wonder where both the practical and the artistic are valued. It makes you wonder if those things are more connected than we realize. Like maybe the universe itself is some kind of grand work of art. Okay, I'm getting a little carried away here. But you know what else I'm curious about?
What's that?
The gardens. The gardens of God. I mean, gardens on Earth, those are nice and all. But in Adentia, they're described as something truly extraordinary. What's the deal with them?
You're hitting on something important here. The gardens of Adentia, they're not just about pretty flowers. They serve a much deeper purpose.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on. What's so special about these gardens? Okay, so the gardens aren't just for, like, relaxing and smelling the cosmic roses.
Not exactly. Remember, Adentia is all about growth and evolution, right? Well, the gardens are actually a training ground.
A training ground for what? What do you learn in a cosmic garden?
They call it a training ground for group ethics. Essentially, it's about learning how to live harmoniously with others.
Okay, so far so good. But we're talking about Adentia here, right? A place with beings from all over the cosmos.
Precisely. The gardens are where you learn to navigate that diversity, to appreciate it, to find common ground with beings from completely different backgrounds and experiences. It's like
a crash course in intergalactic diplomacy.
You could say that. On Earth, we struggle with conflict and disagreements on such a small scale. But imagine a world with countless different species, cultures, perspectives, all interacting. Adentia is where we learn to deal with all of that.
It sounds intense, but also amazing. Like, talk about expanding your horizons. But the gardens, they're where we learn these skills.
Think of it like a giant cosmic workshop. You're interacting with all these different beings, learning to understand their perspectives, their values. It's about expanding our capacity for empathy and compassion, but on a, universal scale.
That's beautiful. And to think this is just one little piece of what the Urantia book talks about, it's mind-blowing. We started with Earth, this tiny little planet, and now we're talking about interdimensional beings and cosmic gardens.
And we've only scratched the surface. Remember how we talked about Norlashidak being one of 100 constellations in our local universe, Nebadon?
Right. And each constellation has its own Adentia, its own gardens, its own Urantia. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But here's the thing. Nebadon, our local universe, it's just one of many, many local universes.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying there are other universes out there? Like whole other Nebadons with their own constellations and everything?
The Urantia book describes these vast realms called super universes, which are basically collections of local universes, and even those are just a part of an even larger structure. There are levels of existence beyond even that, realms that are almost impossible for us to comprehend at this point.
So it's like those Russian nesting dolls. You open one and there's another one inside and another, and it just keeps going.
Exactly. The Urantia book is trying to show us that the cosmos is not flat, not just this empty space with stars sprinkled around. It's this incredibly complex, multi-layered structure that goes on and on. It's humbling and awe-inspiring at the same time.
It really is. It makes you feel incredibly small, but also, like you said, kind of in awe of it all. Like knowing that there's so much more out there than we can even imagine.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's not about having all the answers, but about being open to the mystery and letting that sense of wonder guide us. That's what this whole deep dive has been about, exploring our place in this incredible cosmos. And I think the biggest takeaway is that our journey is far from over. It's just beginning.
You know, it makes me think of that Carl Sagan quote, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known."
I love that quote. It's so true.
It perfectly sums up this feeling, this sense of possibility and wonder that we're left with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it reminds us to never stop exploring, never stop asking questions, never stop being amazed by the universe and everything in it.
Well said. Well, to our listener out there, we hope you're feeling just as mind-blown as we are. We've journeyed from our tiny planet to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, and it's clear there's so much more to discover. So keep looking up at those stars, keep asking those big questions, and never lose your sense of wonder.
Because who knows what incredible discoveries await us out there in the great unknown.
This has been The Deep Dive, signing off. Until next time, keep exploring.